Okay, well, thank you all for joining our webinar this morning. We're going to be talking a little bit about Solid Edge Insight and the path to moving to Teamcenter. Just a quick agenda. I'll spend a few minutes talking about introductions and who PROLIM is, just briefly a couple slides, and then we'll jump right into the Insight to Teamcenter migration process. I also have with me Arun Ganeshan, who is our head of delivery from our technical services group. He'll be covering some of the technical slides. Then we're going to jump into the Teamcenter PDM overview and walk you through a little bit of what the PDM solution looks like. And then we will run through a brief demo of what the product and the process looks like for moving from Insight to Teamcenter and what the migration involved is. And then at that point afterwards, we'll open it up to question and answer for everyone, and I'll unmute the line for everyone. So overall, we should be probably about 30 to 40 minutes to go through the presentation, and then we'll spend some time opening it up for questions. So just briefly, a little bit about PROLIM. Our company has been around for 13 years. We're headquartered right here in Detroit, which is where I actually reside. But we do have global operations. So over the years, we have grown from Detroit to Dallas to Cincinnati, as well as we have a presence in Toronto and Canada, as well as California, and we have offshore centers in India. And the way we operate is we do a lot of combination of onshore and offshore to maximize value for our customers. We basically provide full PLM solutions, everything from Solid Edge, NX, NXCAM, to Teamcenter solutions, and jumping into some of the ECAD products from Mentor Graphics as well as MindSphere. So we're a full Siemens partner. We sell, service, and support all of the products that we offer to our customers. And we also do a lot of integration and data migration work and technical services, and we're well known for our help desk services for our customers as well. These are really the three main pillars of our services, obviously focusing primarily on the PLM solutions. Full Siemens partner, as I mentioned, support, training, as well as consulting. We help customers with road mapping, review of your infrastructure, things like that. We're really a full service consulting firm. And then on the engineering services side, we do a lot of overflow type work for customers who maybe have a larger project that they need to outsource maybe pieces of that for design or engineering services, whether it's regular design type work on a CAD tube, whether it's on Solid Edge or NX or CATIA, or we do analysis type work. We also do manufacturing consulting, manufacturing process planning, which is also part of the Teamcenter PLM suite, as well as full project and program management for customers. And then the third pillar is really our IT solutions and services. We do everything from application development to business intelligence to data warehousing, ongoing maintenance and support, as well as testing services for all of your applications, including regression testing. We're also a full cloud computing provider. We work with most of the major cloud computing services out there, whether it's Amazon or Microsoft Azure or Oracle, or maybe even some of the third-party ones out there. So jumping into our Insight to Teamcenter migration process, I am going to turn it over to Arun Ganeshan, and he will walk you through this a little bit. Arun?
Yes. Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Rich. So our tool is called Diaspora. This is our data migration platform, homegrown within PROLIM over more than a decade of experience of implementing various migration solutions for various customers on Teamcenter and other PLM experiences. So that the product is built on the best practices of ETL, extract, transform, and load. On this T-step of extract, transform, and load, you see here we have a 6-step process, one each to support the extract, on transform, and load. And we have seen over a period of time on various migration implementations, uh, we were being able to achieve a better cost efficiency in terms of saving manual effort of moving data, efforts spent on building custom developed scripts and utilities to move data, and also in terms of achieving the right kind of data quality, which is the primary objective of any customer. We have seen that we've been able to increase the success of migration with increasing of 20% of efficiency we have seen than the conventional methods of using migration platforms. So this platform is built on open source standards, and it can be offered on various avenues. This can be hosted on premises within your location, or it can be even run independently on a cloud, and where it can talk to your source environments and your target environments remotely and perform all the necessary migration operations from the source to target. So that's about briefly on what the platform. Next slide. So over here you would see what this particular platform supports. On the left you see is the various technical components that are involved to deal with various kind of source systems. So our platform can work with traditional systems like SQL, Oracle, Sybase, or those kind of traditional relational database systems. Or it can also read data lying on flat files and on network drives. Because many of us, I'm sure, would be using CAD data located on network drives and file servers. So these are the various source system formats that Diaspora platform supports. And on the right, what you see is these are the various target system platforms that the Diaspora platform can extract, transform, and load the data. So it can work with Teamcenter and even other PLMs, and also some of the ERP systems, and it could be even moving on to other relational database systems. And for each of this, we have connectors to extract from the source and to transform and to load to the target. Next slide. So this gives a little more in detail what the Diaspora engine looks like. So Diaspora, the biggest advantage of Diaspora is you don't need a hardcore IT guy to run and manage this particular one. We have built a graphical user interface through which a large amount of migration rules and how much of data you want to carry from the source to target can be controlled by you based on rules and parameters which is a configurable manner in the tool. So through the platform, you have a control panel wherein which you can define rules for extracting what kind of data you want to pull. Sometimes you don't want to pull everything. For example, you may say, I want to probably carry forward the latest revision and the one revision before that, and not everything, because you may be having a lot of junk data. So something like that you can define as a rule. Or if you want to carry only the latest one, you can set as a rule as well, as just a configuration in the system. You can also define the what kind of quality you want to insist on your target system. For example, in your current system, which is your legacy system, you may have some data which is missing, but you want to make sure as you go into your target system that you want to have a clean data. You want to make sure your team works towards sanitizing certain important design information or business information. You want to collect it, make sure we are in a good shape, and you want to make sure the target system is in good shape. For which you can add in more rules to enforce that I would like to add more mandatory attributes on the CAD or on the metadata. So those can be again controlled through this data quality and profiling, wherein you're going to have a control and what you want to set, how you want to control what kind of data you want to take it to the target system. So as I said, on the left, you can see the extractors that are built in can deal with different kind of systems like database systems, mainframes, just file dumps, flat files, and other legacy systems. And the core in the middle is where the transformation happens. So we step back. So we extract the data and we keep it on the Diaspora staging environment. Like I said, in the staging environment, you can have it on a cloud or you can have it in your premises. That's your choice of how you want to deploy. So at this stage, you would now bring the link between the source system and the target system. This is where you're going to define how I'm going to link the design of your source system and target system, build the mapping logic and everything. Once the mapping logic is built, and then you can then move on to the next stage of loading. So you would actually load that into within Diaspora, load the tables, look at the data output, generate some reports, validate yourself, and be happy with it before you want to do a real run. So the tool provides you a lot of mechanisms to, do trial and error on modifying the rules, the data quality checks, the data output quality, and tweak the configurations to the level of what you want to achieve. And then you can really now do the actual loading into your target system, which again, as I said, it can be Teamcenter or it could be even any other system or any other ERP as well. So move on to the next slide. So what the biggest advantage this platform provides is you get a 360-degree view. What we mean is at all stages, when you're going to extract, you can have a control in terms of how you want to extract through the rule engines. You can have a control in terms of what kind of data quality you want to enforce when you extract. That's the data quality and profiling. And at the transformation stage, you can control in terms of what data on the left should move to what element on the right. So that mapping again can be done through a simple web-based UI. And this process, again, how successful it is can be measured by doing certain dry runs, generating the reports out of the migration, validating that with the key business users. Again, going back to that a couple of iterations to make sure that you have reached the level of quality and output which you want. Then use that set proved accepted parameters and do the main run. So that's why you will have complete control. You will get reports wherein sometimes I'm sure you would appreciate the data may not be clean and data may not have passed your rules. So all the data that fails because of the rules, because of the bad data quality, you will get a followed report. So looking at the followed report, you can actually decide are they really bad data that you want to leave it as it is, or you want to take it further, in which case we may have to perform additional steps to carry forward those followed data into the new system. The greatest advantage, as I said, is there is not much of customization or coding you need to do with this tool. Most of it is done through configuration because we have already built the complex code behind to do the transformation, which is the most complex part of it actually. So you get an end-to-end reconciliation between the data and the source and the target. You can do comparisons in terms of how many objects you have carried forward, comparing the attributes, attribute level you can compare between source and target. That's where this tool makes a difference from some of the other tools that you might have probably come across in the industry. Next slide. So this is this represents how specifically a CAD data like solid edge can be moved from a source system like Insight to a PLM system like Teamcenter. So on the left you see solid edge Insight where the CAD data resides on the Insight vault. Our Diaspora platform has got extractors for the solid edge. So these extractors would actually pull all the files from the inside SharePoint, move it to a network drive, and then the next set of extractors will pull all the CAD attributes, load it on the staging environment. Then you can do mapping with your CAD attributes that you have configured on your Teamcenter system, and you can load it on the Diaspora system. And once you're good with it, you can do a loading. At the time of loading, now all the attributes along with the actual CAD file will get loaded to the target system. So this is what I'm going to explain more in detail in subsequent slides. You can move to the next one. So I'll go a little now in detail, the diagram which you saw in the previous slide. So the first step is when you have your solid edge inside, most of the time maybe you'll just have one repository of inside where you keep all of your CAD files, but there are times you might have multiple locations and you are having a distributed architecture. In either ways, our product supports multiple SharePoint as well. You can list all the SharePoint inside locations and provide the credentials to log in and access those SharePoint credentials, and that is number one. The second one is we need a temporary space to extract the CAD files and store it on the network drives for a temporary while until the migration is completed. So that's what is the number two network drive. So once both are set, now the Diaspora extractors will extract all the CAD files from the SharePoint and it will move to the network. The second one is the most important step. So this is where the next set of Diaspora extractors, it will read the CAD files that are sitting on that temporary storage on the network drive. It will read those attributes such as file names, the file path, extensions, and all other attributes that defines the drawing. We will generate a report of the same, and then that can be shared with the design users. Then they can go through that and identify duplicates or any missing information and any other things that they need to cleanse it and fix it before taking that data to the target. That's where you have that control. Now, once that the identification is done to clean the data, so you would be actually updating the data in a simple Excel file, which we will show in the demo. Then you can actually bring in a better data quality before even the data reaches the target system. So the greatest advantage here is you are fixing the quality related issues before even the data is loaded in the Teamcenter. So that's where the beauty lies in. So by the time you get the data into Teamcenter, you have a much higher quality of data. So the third step is once you have cleansed the information about the CAD data, now you're going to map the attributes about the CAD and the attributes that you have defined in your PDM system on your Teamcenter. You're going to do the mapping. So that's what is the transformation mapping built over there. So, and also if you want to have a specific naming mechanism, right, for the part or anything, that also can be configured in such a way so that you want to follow a different or a new set of naming convention as you load the data into the target. That again can be done in this particular step. So moving on to the next one. So now once these are done, so now typically what we do is we do 2 or 3 iterations of making sure that the engine is all set for the final run. So what we do in this iterative run is we identify a set of sample data. You can identify as 10% or maybe 15% that can be defined by the users with a good representation of various type of CAD files that you have, CAD scenarios that you have, and then once the transformation is built between the two, now you run the tool, it will extract the CAD files to the temporary storage on the network drives. The CAD data will be generated as an Excel file output, which the business can see to do the cleansing. And then the output will be loaded into the target environment, for which you will get a report of the output file. When we load the CAD data into the system in the Teamcenter PDM system, you can treat them as an item or a part. You can also decide whether you want to default as an release status or an unreleased status. That is again something you can choose to do it actually. So looking at the output of the data, you can, like I said, you can further fine-tune the rules, the transformation and other stuff until you reach in a couple of iterations that this data looks in an acceptable quality. So once that is done, now you move to the last step where now you perform the complete run, where the same step that we have done in the dry run, it's done in the final step as well. But now you do for the entire workload of all your source system data. Once that is done, you can generate validation reports, which will compare your source and your target, and provide reports in terms of count comparison, attributes comparison, which you can see. And also I talked about another report which talks about followed report. The followed report is basically what data were not migrated because of their data quality rules that has been put and other transformation rules that has been set, which has been consciously not picked by the system because of the rules defined. Again, looking at that, the team can take a conscious call to see how they want to handle those followed data, and they can either they can do a separate delta migration to handle those scenarios if there are a lot of issues in the data, or they can leave it back with the source system, archive it, and use it as a reference in future whenever is needed. So these are the simple steps that you perform. In our experience, what we have seen is when we use this Diaspora platform for Solid Edge or any kind of CAD migration, we end up doing not more than 15-20% of additional utilities or scripts creation. 80% of the job is taken care by the platform, wherein we have a GUI, wherein which you can do configurations, which we will explain in a demo down the line with the upcoming agenda. To move on next.
Great, thank you, Arun. So next, I will walk you through an overview of the Teamcenter PDM solution. So some of the driving factors of the change from Insight to Teamcenter is, number one, Microsoft is changing the way they index currently, and that will certainly decrease the performance that you may be experiencing today with Insight. They're no longer going to be supporting the free version of SharePoint starting at after the end of the year, and Siemens is also going to discontinue support of the Insight product after the 31st of December. So the other major thing to consider is Insight is really a one-site solution. It does not have global support. It will not support multiple sites. It's really designed for a smaller organization. Some of the differences and features between Insight and Teamcenter is, on the Insight side, you're basically only able to do CAD data management, meaning CAD vaulting. You can store your data up into the system. You can also do document management via SharePoint, but it's very simplistic. When you look at Teamcenter PDM, it does complete CAD, revision control, BOM, part management, change management process. There's a data exchange that's available, as well as full Microsoft Office integration. And there's also visual collaboration that's available as an option with Teamcenter PDM solution. So I'm going to run through just a little bit more on some of the features of Teamcenter PDM, and the whole idea behind this product is it's basically a fast track to getting you up and running with a simple and easy to use PDM solution. Some of the main drivers behind PDM is, number one, intellectual property protection, being able to reuse your design and your engineering data that you have learned from maybe previous programs or previous parts that you've developed, becoming more efficient, increasing your quality, and the main factor is really time to market. At the end of the day, that's what makes money for all of us as customers that are making products. So some of the data management challenges that a lot of our customers experience if they don't have any kind of a solution in place is they'll have a single CAD, they can't handle multiple CAD. It's really a dead-end solution because there's no path for sharing things back and forth. There's no revision control. And sometimes you'll end up losing money because you're not able to reuse some of your designs and you have to start from scratch and do things over and over the same. And then there's really no support out there either. When you move into a PDM solution, you get that multi-CAD environment. You have a single source of truth to go to for a system as far as looking for your CAD information. You're not going to spend time searching for data or some of your CAD designs. You'll always have the latest and greatest revision, and you can see all of the past history. And I'll cover some of that in the future slides. And there's really a growth path for you to even go into PLM down the road, and I'll talk some more about that in some slides here. The PDM solution from Siemens is really an easy and fast to deploy system, and you'll realize ROI very quickly. And I'll talk some more on that. And it really doesn't require a whole lot of IT support. So for smaller companies that maybe don't have a IT department, maybe they just have one person that does all of their IT solutions, that's very important because they don't have time and they don't have the money to hire people to manage this type of a system. It's a simple system that you can get up and running with very quickly. So when you start considering how you manage CAD data, this chart shows what we typically find with a lot of organizations is they have things set up on maybe a file server. They may have some folders, folder structure, and that's probably about 3/4 of the customers out there. In some scenarios, we even find that there isn't even a server, and maybe things are just being saved on local desktops. There's no formal data management system whatsoever within an organization. And you're dealing with just a single CAD, and you are not able to integrate with other systems. So the whole idea behind this PDM solution is to stop wasting engineering time. 26% of the time, customers are wasting time looking for information, and because they don't have a data management solution in place, they're spending time searching for stuff, and that basically equates to 1 full day per week. When you start thinking about that, that gets very costly. Some of the benefits of a single PDM solution, basically being able to have your new designs, be able to reuse those, taking your existing CAD data and using that as a starting point maybe for a future product or part that you're looking to develop, being able to have a change process in place, and being able to develop during that non-value added time and activities where you're searching for files, that really will increase your productivity. Some of the features in other models are copied to new models. That again goes back to that reuse, reusing what you've already done in the past. You'll realize some return on investment just from that. Being able to push things down to other departments within your organization, sharing data back and forth between, for example, your design, your engineering, your quality, and maybe your manufacturing, especially when we start looking at BOM. A lot of organizations may have a MRP or an ERP system that they use, and when it goes to the shop floor, that's a manual process typically where they're building that BOM. With this type of a solution, you could actually integrate it with your MRP or ERP as well. So the right sizing of PDM really drives greater business growth for you. You can get up and running very quickly, literally within roughly about a month. And you'll start realizing a quick return on investment based on some pre-configured workflows and pre-configured system, which is what you get with the Siemens PDM solution. You'll be able to realize some of that ROI very quickly. And there's a growth path, even going from PDM. As you grow as an organization, the product can grow right along with you and get you into product lifecycle management. We'll talk some more about that in detail as well. Again, this is just talking about the ROI. Easy to use, easy to deploy, cost effective. Automating workflows and processes, things that maybe you're doing manually today via email, or what I like to call sometimes sneaker net, because you literally walk over to somebody when there's a change and you have to talk to them. With this system, you wouldn't necessarily have to do that. Everything's done in the system and managed in the system. This is what a standard PDM deployment looks like. And this is what it would look like if you were to get into the Teamcenter PDM system, which basically is a pre-configured system for you. Helps reduce your costs, installation, training, and getting up and running literally within a month or so. Some of the best practices for PDM, basically being able to find and reuse and share designs across a multi-CAD environment, or even an ECAD environment if you have maybe some PCB boards or electrical designs that you're doing. Being able to share between different CAD tools. There's a visualization environment available within Teamcenter called JT, where you can basically bring in different types of CAD files into maybe one assembly. And I'll show you some more on that in a future slide here. And then everyone is looking at the latest and greatest BOM, latest and greatest revisions, and being able to link those designs with the different documents that you maybe get from your customers or your suppliers for that matter. Then being able to collaborate on some of those documents and review and share those documents back and forth with different folks in your organization or at your customer or your supplier. Being able to directly save from the PDM solution right into your Microsoft Office applications, such as Word or Excel or PowerPoint. So this is really the crux of what the Teamcenter PDM solution looks like. Talked a little bit about multi-CAD data management. Really with the Teamcenter PDM solution, you're getting best-in-class CAD data management. Full integration between the different CADs that are out there, and pretty much all of the major CAD systems that you might be using today are supported. Intelligent part numbering is also available. So whether you have maybe a part numbering sequence that you're using already existing today, we can implement that and configure the system accordingly, or you can just use what's out of the box. Having specific CAD integrations related to what your environment is, whether you're using AutoCAD or SolidWorks or Solid Edge or NX or CATIA or even Creo. And then also that design BOM management, where you can literally see the entire BOM. You start out with a CAD BOM, then maybe it goes to your engineering department. They add a few things to it. You can manipulate that BOM and then push it down to your shop floor. Standard document management, as I mentioned, the Office integration, having a pre-configured set of reports, and being able to find things very quickly and easily. Whether maybe you remember a particular part name, or you may not know the part number, you can search based on that. It's kind of like a Google search when you want to look for your information. You can find things quickly and easily. It's really a drill down type environment. And then simple process management or change management. There are some standard basic workflows that come pre-configured out of the box with the system. So you don't have to spend time developing these different workflows. All you need to do is basically assign the appropriate roles and responsibilities as is outlined in the next table, pre-configured roles and functionality. So we may be looking at, say, a designer, a design leader, and then maybe an engineering manager for review. Those are all things that are standard in some of these workflows. You'll have a change process that you can actually go in and see, okay, where are all my changes at and who's holding something up. It's going to make you more effective and be able to get those changes out quickly, instead of maybe in some cases you might be sitting on change requests for a month or two. In this case, you could actually get them down to literally maybe a few weeks, and we've proven that with multiple customers. And the platform that the PDM solution resides on is the standard Microsoft platform. It gives you that collaborative environment that I talked about in the JT file format. So where you could have an assembly that has multiple CAD parts built up in that assembly in this JT environment. And being able to get set up and up and running quickly, that's really the key here. So this slide here actually shows you some of the multi-CAD data management, some of the integration. As I had mentioned earlier, number of parts to meet company standards, so we can set that up based on what you may be using today, or you can use what's out of the box. This slide here where it shows managed design bombs, you can see what a bomb looks like, the trees right there. And you can also see where these multiple colors here are showing where there are different CAD parts that are in a JT visualization environment. This shows you some of the standard CAD data management that's built into the system, whether it's NX or Solid Edge or CATIA, SolidWorks, PTC Pro E, or AutoCAD or Inventor. And it also can integrate with most of the major ECAD systems that you may have out there. Being able to exchange stuff back and forth with your customers, that's very important. And then managing that design bomb and pushing that down to the other departments in your organization. This shows some of the ECAD best in class, PCB design from Altium or Cadence or Mentor. Those are also available. So if you're doing some wire harness or electrical schematics or boards, we can also implement that into this system. This shows a sample of what the Teamcenter document management looks like, as well as the searching that I talked about earlier, where you can literally do a drill down. And if you remember, say, a program or a customer name, you can start with that and then work your way through the system. The Microsoft Office integration, you'll get some additional buttons added to your Microsoft Office toolbar, where you can literally save directly right into Teamcenter while you're in the Office product, whether it's Word, Excel, or PowerPoint. And then this also shows some of the custom reports that are available. So best in practice PDM automates a lot of the processes that you may be doing manually today, whether it's forwarding things back and forth via email between your design and engineering and maybe your quality and manufacturing folks, being able to do design reviews and reviewing documents, automating those workflows that I talked about for change management, getting sign-off from the appropriate people, making sure that before you send a product out to a customer, the proper approvals have been put in place. It's been reviewed by the internal design leader, design manager, as well as maybe even some of the folks in quality or manufacturing. And then tracking and managing all of those related documents. That's very important. And you can also look at schedules and costs and be able to track those sort of things much more efficiently, because you've got one source for all of this information. You're packaging up everything that maybe is residing on multiple servers or multiple PCs or people's desktops, and now you have everything in one system. And then pushing that down to the manufacturing shop floor, as I talked about. Even if we want to integrate with an MRP or an ERP system, that is something we can do if you're running SAP or QAD or maybe Infor ERP. This shows a sample workflow of what the change management process looks like. Again, this stuff comes pre-configured, so we can just kind of fill in the gaps for you. These are some of the pre-configured roles and functionality that I talked about. It shows you some of the screens, what that looks like. Again, we would change those names for author, checker, manager, management, manufacturing. We would put in your organization's names, work with you on filling that in. And everything in the system is role-based, so you can define what they have access to and what they don't, what's view only in the system, so that certain people that are not authorized, for example, maybe on the shop floor, they might be looking at a design, but they can't change anything or manipulate anything or change any of the related documents in the system. You can define all of that, and that's something that we help you with as part of the deployment. So in a nutshell, really, the whole PDM solution makes it very flexible and extendable for you, where you can literally grow from a PDM solution into full-blown PLM. So PDM is product data management, and PLM is product lifecycle management, where you really start looking at the life cycle of an entire product or assembly or what have you that you may be providing to your customer. And there are a lot of different modules within Teamcenter that you can grow into, looking at costing and reporting analytics and things like that. A lot of the larger manufacturers have implemented some of these different solutions. So there's an extendable path from the PDM solution to grow into PLM as you grow. But starting out simple and easy with PDM is the key here. This just kind of shows you, so the top layer of the PLM platform, that is PDM, where you start with your designs, your documents, and your BOM and your process, and then extending it into requirements, serviceability, manufacturing, and maybe even pushing things out to your suppliers, and then taking it even further and looking at quality and costing and sustainability and systems engineering. These are just some of the different modules that you can grow into down the road with the Teamcenter product. So what's the cost of losing performance with Insight? Performance based on changes from Microsoft indexing may be 5 to 10% slower is basically what Microsoft is telling us. As I mentioned, there's no longer going to be any support for the Insight product moving forward. After December, you will not be able to get any additional support. So that's the reason why Siemens is looking for customers, hopefully, to upgrade to the Teamcenter PDM solution. Again, reviewing the features, CAD data management, document management is what you get with Insight. When you get into the Teamcenter PDM solution, you get full CAD integration, BOM management, part management, full revision control. You have a change process. You also have a means for data exchange with your different customers as well as suppliers, and that office integration as well as the visual collaboration is available too. So next up, I'm going to jump into our demo of the product, and it's just a brief demo to show you what the solution looks like.
Hello, in this demo, We are going to demonstrate how PROLIM's Diaspora can simplify the process of migrating CAD files from network folders to Teamcenter Unified. This is the network folder which contains the CAD files. And for us to create these as items in Teamcenter, we would need certain attributes. Those are provided in this particular CSV. Now let's go to Diaspora and then demonstrate the process. First, we have to connect the source and the target system with the Diaspora. So in the screen, we can connect the source, which is the network folder, with Diaspora. We have to give the server IP address, username, password, and the root folder, which contains the CAD files. Similarly, we have to connect the Teamcenter system as well with the Diaspora. We have to key the username, password, URL, and certain other details, and connect Teamcenter with Diaspora. Once this is done, we have to extract the metadata and the data from the network folder. The extracted data will contain the name of the CAD file, the path of the CAD file, and the type of the CAD file. Once this is done, we have to go to the mapper. In the mapper, we can merge these two sets of information. The information which was passed from the network folder and the additional information attributes which are required to create in Teamcenter. Along with that, we are also mapping this information with the target system, which is Teamcenter's data model. So these are the fields which will have to be provided, the information, the source table, the target table, the path, any transformation rules that are required. So all this have to be applied. Once this is done, we are going to initiate the data migration. So the data migration happens in two steps. First, we have to load this merged information to the local staging table, Diaspora staging table, and then we have to actually do the migration. While doing the migration, the data will be transformed as per the target system's data model, and it will be loaded into Diaspora's target table. So loading of data will be done using execute dan button, and then this particular button will actually do the migration and transform the source data as per the target data's data model. Once this is done, we are going to generate the final output, which is the actual input required to create these CAD files as items in Teamcenter. So here are the information, and once this is done, we are going to load it and select the target system, which is Teamcenter, and then actually load these CAD files into Team. Now let's log into Teamcenter and then check if the item has been successfully created. I'll go to the folder where this item will be created, and I will search for that item. As you can see, this item was created a few minutes ago. So this concludes the demo. Thank you.
Okay, so what you just saw was a demonstration of the Diaspora platform, which Arun talked about quite a bit in the beginning. And basically, we showed you the process on what it would look like when we're moving files off of the Insight product into the Teamcenter PDM solution. So at this point, I am going to open it up to questions for the audience. And I have just unmuted everybody, so if you have any questions, feel free to ask them away, and Arun and I will be happy to answer them for you. Are there any questions from the audience? You can also, by the way, if you prefer not to speak, you can also go through the chat feature and send me your questions that way. So one of the questions that I did get was, how long does a typical setup of the Teamcenter PDM solution take? The answer to that is a typical out-of-the-box setup with minimal added features usually will take you about a month. Typically, it's about anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks. Sometimes it might extend into 5 weeks, depending on how much data you may have that we need to move into the system. But you know, every scenario is a little bit different. So if you want to get something specific and you'd like us to take a look at your existing environment, we could certainly provide you a proposal for that after we had a little bit of a discovery call with you. Any other questions from the audience? I've got one other question here that just came through on the chat feature, and the question is, what is the difference between PDM versus full-blown Teamcenter? Arun, if you don't mind, maybe you can answer that one for me.
Sure, thanks, Rich. So typically a PDM system focuses more about product and product-related configurations. It doesn't really talk about how the end life cycle of a whole top assembly or a finished good kind of evolves. So what are the other life cycle elements that comes in a PLM is how can you define a project or a program? How do you manage various customer requirements? How can you define a manufacturing BOM from an engineering BOM? And if there are issues related to quality, customer issues, or internal quality issues, how do we map it back to the design BOM or the engineering BOM? So these are the elements which probably do not get covered in PDM. Project management, requirements management, issue management, manufacturing BOM, and also integrating your Teamcenter system with ERP and seamlessly providing manufacturing BOM, routing instructions, bill of processes, and stuff like that. Those are the next step of maturity of a PDM, which takes someone from a level of PDM to a PLM.
Yeah, and I also, just to add to that, I put up back on the screen the slide that I talked a bit about the differences between PDM and PLM, and it shows you some of the things that Arun had mentioned. Simple process management does come with the PDM solution, but advanced change management, where you want to get into more complex workflows and things like that, that's something that really extends you into full PLM, as well as some of the items that you see on the screen. So just to add to that. Any other questions from the audience? If anybody has anything, feel free to speak up. I've got one other question here that came through the chat, which is Active Workspace a part of the Teamcenter PDM or only available in the Teamcenter PLM solution? Arun, if you don't mind, maybe you can answer that one.
Yeah, sure. So Active Workspace is also available as part of the Teamcenter PDM. So as you see in PDM, you can perform the operations of the engineering BOM and having a revision control and stuff like that. So all those can be made available through Active Workspace, which is a complete zero thick client option of rendering the whole system on Active Workspace. So pretty much everything that you see on a normal Teamcenter can be made available. The features of a PDM can be available through the Active Workspace as well.
Great. Thank you, Arun. Any other questions from the audience? Okay, so I'll leave on the screen just our contact information. If anybody from the audience is interested in talking further or has questions after this, feel free to reach out to us at any one of our locations. As I mentioned, I reside here in Detroit. We also have our other offices in Dallas as well as Cincinnati, and some of our global operations are also listed here. We appreciate you joining us this morning, and I want to thank you for your time, and hope you have a great day. Thank you. Thanks, Arun.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Rich.
Have a great day. Bye now.